here this prop type is used to define the props. So to define the types of the type in our React application. As you can see here, we have this. It's weekly download. Had you seen this? It's more than 24 lakhs, right? 24 lakhs a week. Okay, so this is one of the popular library which is used in React library because it gives you an ability to replace the TypeScript to configure the TypeScript into your application. Okay, so now let's try to understand how we can use this npm prop type. And here you can also go to their homepage. As you can see here we have its homepage, and within this homepage we will simply understand how we can so here it is just given an example of so what it is. Go the full stack with the framework slug using this. So why it has just refer us to this React doc, I really don't know, but let's say we have this documentation. Okay, and at the same time, if I am just willing to know how to use this prop type, I can copy this and just paste it here, like not like this but like this. Okay, and here we have our documentation of prop type, like how we can use, and at the same time here we also have an document and blog from free code camp, right? So these places will help you to understand how you can use prop type in your React application. Okay, so basically let's understand what is prop type, right, and why we do use prop type. So as you can see here, prop type are the simplest mechanism that ensure that the passing value to a correct data type. Okay, so basically we define the data type as we know that JavaScript doesn't so that JavaScript is not a type language, right? So basically there so if you pass a string to a variable or a number or an object or anything, it will never throw an error. Okay, but if you are just willing to ensure that your application understand that it having a specific type, right, so then this is a solution. Instead of using the TypeScript, you can go with prop type, right? So this makes sure that you do not receive an error at the very end of your app by the console. Might not be easy to deal with. Okay, so that's how basically you can use prop type. So okay, so let's understand how we can use this prop type. To use that prop type, we have to firstly install this npm package. So here you can see this, we just have to use that use this command to install this prop type package. So here just you can install this into your application by this. So let's first install this into our application, npm install prop type -- save. And instead if you just don't use this -- save, still it is going to work the same, right? So now just run my application. So npm run start. This is the command which we do use to start our React application. So instead I am already running my React application here, right? Okay, so let's come here and understand how we can use this into our application. So first we had installed this prop type. To confirm, we just have to go to our packages, package.json, right? And here if you just see, here we have this prop type in our dependencies. So as you can see here, we have our prop type in our dependency, and instead I had by mistake I installed this one. So let's install this, uninstall this. So to uninstall, I just have to use a command remove and the package name, right? So we had successfully remove our prop type, so the wrong prop type which we had installed there, right? So now to use this into my application, I just have to import this prop type, right? I just have to import this into my application as the same as it is shown here. Import prop type from prop type. Okay, so here we have just imported our prop type, right? So next, if I am just willing to use this prop type, So let's say here we have an count application. Okay, so here we have an counter prop. So let's create a counter. Let's create a component folder first, component, and within this component folder I am just going to create a file with a name of counter. So let's create a name with counter, counter.jsx, and let's create an RFC component, and with this counter we have an h1 element, and within this h1 element I am going to pass a value which I am going to receive as in props, which is the count, right? And within this component I am just going to create two more buttons, and these two buttons should be wrapped in a div. So I'm just going to wrap these two buttons into a div, and here we have two buttons. First one is with a sign of plus. Okay, first is with the sign of minus, and the second with the sign of plus. Okay, and at the same time I'm just going to give this a class name, and it's button container, container, right? And I'm just going to give some style to this button container. So let's give some style to this button container class, and here I'm just giving justify content. Okay, so display flex, and just the flex direction. So let's give me a flex direction of row, and justify content. Here I'm giving as let's say center. Okay, and at the same time each button within this class, right, I'm just going to give some padding, left padding, okay, or left margin. So let's say I'm giving a margin left, no, margin right of 10 pixels, so that it can be a little apart from each other. Okay, and instead I can also do something else. I can instead give some gap, right? So instead I can also give some gap, right? So let's remove this for now and just try to see how this component renders. Okay, and so instead of just rendering this count, I am just willing to render the value of this count. So at initially, if there is no value present to this count or no props has been passed, I am just going to use this 0 value as an initial count, right, as an initial value. So let's go to this app folder, and I'm just going to import my counter component, right? So I had successfully imported my counter component, and here I am going to render my counter component. Okay, so let's use this, and if I'm just going to save this and go to my screen, here you can see here we have a 0 and with a plus and a minus button, right? So as we had drawn here. Okay, great. Instead we can also name this like decrement and increment, right? So here we have a decrement button, and here we have an increment button, right? Okay, great. So now our next step is to create a function. So let's define that function at last. Let's first go with how we are just going to define another type. Okay, so now we had decided to pass this counter as in props, to this count function. Okay, to this count we are just going to pass a count prop. Okay, so but here is a problem. Okay, so what's the problem? Here we can pass anything to this count. For example, I can pass even this a number, right? And as you can see to my dashboard, so let's go to my dashboard. As you can see here, it is rendering a text, right? Instead I can pass a number also here. Okay, so I can also pass the number, right? But so does passing a string is a should be valid at this point? Does passing a string to this position should be a valid HTML element for this position? No. Okay, so it should be a number, right? It should be a number. Instead, if I am trying to pass something else apart from number, it should give me an error, right? So how we can achieve this? So we can achieve this by using this prop type. Okay, so let's see how. To understand this, let's come to this blog, and I'm just going to give some zoom here. Okay, and as you can see, prop type are also an object with a key and a value pair, where the key is the name of the prop while the value represents the type of the class they are defined. Okay, so basically whenever we define this prop type, it is also a key value pair. Okay, and finally we do export this prop type. Okay, so as you can see, this is the block where we can going to decide or to create our prop type, right? So let's create our prop type here. Instead we can also create it here. Okay, so here we have this count, and here we have this prop type dot prop type, and here we can export this count. So we had already exported that count. Okay, so what is this count? So this count is this component, and here we are linking this prop type to this count component. Okay, so in our example, if you go, so let's not use this here, but instead I am just going to use this into my counter component. Okay, and with this counter component, because we do not have any count, we instead have our counter component. So let's associate this prop type with our count, and here we are now able to define the type of our props in a key value pair. So what are the props that I am passing to this component? So it's a count, right? And at the same time it's a number. What it is a number, right? So now we had defined that this counter has a prop. Okay, and this prop should be a number, right? So now if I go to my application and try to pass something else instead of a number, so let's say I am just trying to pass this as Vikas, right? And as I go to my UI, you can say it is accepting Vikas. And if you just go into the console, here we will find that okay, this count of type string supplied to a count expected a number. So now in the console you can see here we have a warning. Okay, so what this warning says, you had defined that that the prop that we are passing as an count is a number, right? But you are passing a string, which is not right. Okay, so that's why in a console you will see this warning. Okay, so this is the warning that invalid prop count. So the count prop that you are passing through your application is not valid, so it's invalid. Okay, so that's how this this prop type will help you. This prop type will help you to eliminate the error from your application, right? Great. So let's come here and see what are the other ways we can use this. So the prop type are also an object with the key value pair, which we had already seen. Since defining the prop type on a component does not depends upon the component implementation, we will leaving out the code for the component itself in all of the example. So the code above is simplified to the following. We can also simplify our code to this. So put the props here. As you can see, we had already done this, right? We can already done this. So let's discuss how many times the prop types are there before understanding them with an example. So here we have some basic type of prop type that you can use into your application. So which we can use in our project or in a React application. So if you are willing to specify that okay, something is a string, so you can use prop type dot string. If you are just willing to say okay, something is an object, you can say so object is something that wraps into a curly braces and having a key value pair. Okay, so if you are just want to say that it's an object, so you can refer like this. If you are just willing to say it's a number, you can refer like this. And if you are just want to boolean, you can refer that it's prop type dot bool. And if you are just willing to say that it's a function, that you can say prop type dot function. And if you want to say it's a symbol like this, okay, so you can say prop type dot symbol. So below are the example to show how you can use this prop type to check into your application. So as you can see here, we had defined 4 prop types. Okay, so let's do the same. Okay, so now instead of just passing one prop type, which is count, I am just going to refer that okay, now I can pass 4 different prop types. Okay, now I can pass 4 different prop types to my counter component. Okay, and the type of this prop type, as you can see, it's a string, it's a number, it's an object, it's an array, right? At the same time, to use this, I just have to import this prop type. Okay, so from where I can import this prop type, so as you can go with, and as I just type here, okay, not a React prop type, but prop type from props type, right? So here we had imported this prop type, right? And as you can see, now we had defined that okay, we can pass 4 different prop types. Okay, and one is name, one is age, one is address, and one is friend. Okay, and now if you just go to my app component where I had used this counter, and if I just remove this count from here and just going to press Control plus space, now you can see here we have all that options, okay, that we can pass as an props to our counter component. Okay, so as you can see here, now we can pass there we have 1 2 3 4 and 5 different kind of props. Okay, so let's define the name, and within this name, because we had referred that the type of this name should be an string. Okay, so let's try to pass something else. Okay, so let's try to pass a number here. Okay, and next is the age, so let's try to pass some string here. So let's pass some string. Name. Okay, so now we had passed 2 of our props, and now if I just go here and type control plus space, now you can see we only have these 3 more options, okay, as in props type, right? So let's see why it is so, right? So because this is actually working like this, and as you can also see this, why it is considering this. So when I just hover over this, you can also see here it is also considering count as an prop type. Why? Because we had at the time of destructuring, we had mentioned here, okay, we need something count, which we had rendered in our UI, right? So let's render these 4 elements here. And to render these 4 elements here, we just have to, let's create an HR tag first. So this HR tag will create an horizontal line, right? And beneath this, we are just going to use our other variables, our other props. So let's import our other props here. So one is the name, second one is age, right? And let's try to render my age and name here. So let's use this h2 tag here, and again this s3 tag here. Within this, I am just going to render my name, and within this I am just going to render my age. Okay, render my age. And now if I just save this and go to my UI, as you can see here we had rendered successfully our name, which is 15, and 15 is the value of the name, and age, the value of the age is name. But at the same time, if you go into a console, here you can see field prop type, right? Here you are also seeing a warning because prop age is a type of string. Okay, prop age of type of strings applied to the count. आपने जो the type that you had supplied to this age prop in our counter component is expecting a number. Okay, but you are sending a string, so this is not right. And at the same time, it also throws an error for this name. As you can see here, I can show you this name. Okay, so it's an invalid prop because in that name you had passed that number, but it is expecting a string. Okay, so let's change this. So let's change this and see how does it is going to behave like. Okay, so instead of this name, instead of a number, let's pass something else. So let's say mentor Vikas, right? VIKSH, and within this age I am just going to pass a number, for example 15, right? Now if I just save and going to refresh this page, now within this console you do not see any warning. Okay, because we had successfully done what it is required. Okay, and now it doesn't throw any error. But at the same time, if I just going to change this 15 with something else, something a string, now you have an error within your console. Okay, so that is how this prop type will help you to define the types of props that you can pass in your application without using the TypeScript. Okay, so that's how you can also see here. That's why this npm package is so popular that you can see a weekly download of 24 lakh and 30,000, right? I think it's more than that. Once 10, 100,000, 10,000 lakh, 10 lakh crore. Okay, so it's 2 crore 40 lakh and 30,000, right? So it's a huge number for any package to being installed. Okay, and you can also see that it's last published on 2 years ago. Okay, but still it's quite popular, right? Great. So that's how you can use prop type, right? So let's see what are the other ways we can use this prop type, right? So let's come to this, and now here you can see in this above code the name of the prop. So as we can also say this, we had also seen this warning error. Okay, and now if you are just willing to say that okay, this string is required, okay, is required, and you can't just miss this prop. Okay, so you can also do this by concatenating this is required with this dot string. Okay, so let's try to do this. So let's say because of this is an error, sorry, this is an array which is that friends field, right? And at present, because we had not specified anything, so it's an optional type. Okay, so as you can see here, if I just go here and using that control and space, as you can see, and question mark sign. Okay, so that represents that okay, you can pass address props within this counter. Okay, but it is not as required. Okay, because it's optional. But if I am just going to say here in my counter component that prop type dot array dot is required. Okay, now as you can see in my UI, if I just go to, if I just make this age right a number, now there should not be an error in my console. But as you can see, the props friend is marked as required. Okay, that prop friends that I had mentioned here is marked as required, so you should pass this friend props here. And if you are not going to send this prop at any point of time, if you don't pass this friends to this counter component, it will throw an error and that will be shown in your console. Okay, and each time if you open your console you will see this big error, and now you understand why you are getting this error, right? So that's how you can ensure that you should use the same prop type which you had defined earlier. So okay, so let's define a friends array here. So let's say I'm defining a friends array, and here I'm defining an array, and this array should be within curly braces, and I'm just defining Ram, Sita, Geeta, and one more Geeta, and one more. Let's name this one more, right? So now I had passed this array, right, friends array, and now I can get this friends array at my, and by using the destructuring I can get the value of this friends, right? So for now basically I am just going to render this in h4 element, and because I can't render the 4 friends as it is, so I'm just going to join all these elements, join all the name of this friends array with a comma, right, with a comma. So now if you can go to my UI, here you can see the Ram, Sita, someone within this, and to render this in a right format, let's remove this from here and add here. Now you can see each of these h2, h3 and h4 within their own rows. Okay, so now as you can see here we have mentor Vikas, which is coming from this name, this age which is coming from this h2, and this Ram, Sita and one more from this friends.join, and here we had uses this comma to separate these names, right? So that's how you can use this array also, right? And one last thing which I had mentioned here is the address. So you can pass your address as an object, right? So in the above code, the name prop is expected to have a value which is the string, and the age is a number, and address is an object, and friends is an array which we had already seen here. Okay, so now we have some we had also seen our is required example. Okay, so because whenever you specify this is required, okay, so that means it should be there, okay, and you can't just miss it. Okay, so now you can also see here we have this object type of props.name, and we have this props.instance of this message, and now as you can see here we have contact list which is a props type.shape, and within this shape we had just going to give some number and phone, and within this name and phone number we had just defined as props, and at the same time we also mentioned that these fields are required. Okay, so this is also a way we can define our props type. Okay, so for example, as you can see here we have an object, okay, and within this object we had defined two more elements, two more entities, which is a name and a phone number. Okay, so let's also define this, use this, and let's see how it works. Right, so let's say we had this contact list object, okay, and this contact list object has an prop type.shape, and within this shape, so this shape defines that we are willing to define the shape of the internal element. Okay, so for that we had uses this shape, right, and within this we had just defined that this contact list should have a name and a phone number, and it is required, right? So let's see, if I just go to my UI, it is going to show me some error in my console. So as you can see here we have this error. Okay, so what is this error telling me? This function is not valid as an React child. They may be if they return the component instead component, and from the render you can, okay, also it's a different kind of error. So let's go here and check why it is showing me this error. So we have this component, and we had just, okay, we had used this in the right way, right? So it should not be an issue, but it's creating some issue, right? Okay, so maybe this is because of this, and I really don't know why this is showing me this error, so we will figure it out, right? But because of I'm just going to pass some value to this count. Okay, and this is the count value which I am just passes here. So I am just going to pass this value, this state value to this count, right? Okay, so now we have this 0 and this and this and this, right? Now you can see this, the function are not valid as a React child. This may happen if you return a component instead, component from a render, or you may mean to be. And as you can see here, we have this error from your console, but from where we are getting this error? Do we have any source point? So exactly, we do not have any source point. So let's go to some another error. As you can see here, we have failed to type the invalid prop, that is friends of boolean, type boolean, and supplied to the counter, expected an array. So they had telling me that we have a friends prop, okay, whose types is boolean, but you supplied a counter. Okay, so supplied to counter friends of type boolean, failed to invalid prop friends of type boolean, but expected an array. So do we had passes a boolean value here? Let's check this out. So do we have passes a boolean value here? Exactly, we do not had passes a boolean value. So let's change this to an array. And is it going to make any difference? So exactly, no, it is not going to make any difference. And so why it is giving me this error? I'm just using this counter component in a right way, right? Yes. And at the same time, I am also using this within my friends. We had defined this friends as an prop.array.is required, that is right. Prop type.array.is required, and here we had just rendered this friends.join. Okay, everything is good and fine. So why it is showing me some error? So let's refresh this, and now we do not have an error. So those errors would be coming from our past past rendering. Okay, so let's move to this, and now as you can see, we do not have any error in my UI for this contact list. Okay, but it should have a error in my console because of it is required. So these fields are required, but it is not showing an error. Okay, but if I am just going to use this here, I'm just going to use this here, and I'm just going to pass something, and I am just going to say that okay, I am just willing to pass some blank, not just blank, let's name, let's give the first key value pair, and here I am passing Vikas. And because of I had done this, as you can see, it is giving me an error. Okay, and what is the error? That name is depreciated, so declaration is marked as depreciated here. Okay, so let's pass something else. So counter list, as we had defined here, we have an object. We have to create an object, and within this object I have to pass a name. So let's create an object here. So let's create an object, and here I am just giving this contact list name, right? So let's name this a contact list, and here I am creating an object, and within this object I am just going to use these two fields. one is name and the second one is phone number. So that's the first one is the name and the second number is a phone number, right? The second field should be a phone number. And as you can see here that the first one is the string and the second one is a number. Oh sorry, it's a string. So both should be a string, but here I am just going to do something else. I am just going to pass a number and here I am going to pass a string. So let's say revive coding, right? So let's just save, and now I'm just going to pass this object as in props here. Okay, so let's say I'm just willing to pass this contact list as in props. And now if I just go to my console, here we have this error. And why do we have this error? Because of we had passes this invalid prop, which is a contact list, which should have a phone number, which should have a dot phone type, which is a number, and which is a number. Okay, but supplied the counter, which is a string, expected a string. So basically this field requires a string, but we had supplied a number. Okay, so that's why we had getting this error. So if I am just going to wrap this within a string, and now if I just refresh my browser, now you do not find any error here. Okay, why? Because of we had successfully eliminated our error, because we had passes the right argument which is required by our counter prop. Okay, which is required by our counter prop. Now you may have question, why if I don't pass this counter prop, why if I was not passing this contact list, sorry, so why it is not giving me some error? Okay, why it is not showing me some error in my console? As you can see, because of this we had not uses that required prop. We do not mention here that it is required. Okay, we had just defined this contact list is in scope, is an object, and if we do define this contact list, then it should have these two elements. Okay, and if we are not going to use this contact list, we do not require, we are not going to throw any error to you, right? Great. So that's how you can define. You can also use this prop type dot shape. Okay, and so the next is this prop type dot instant of message, and at the same time I am also going to see here that is number that is in props, right? Is the prop type. So we can see what is the meaning of this prop type dot object of prop type dot number. Okay, so this is going to be return me a value. So this is going to return me a number, a true and false value. So, okay, so let's see how we can use this. So to use this we have to declare this one, right? So let's say now I'm just going to define number prop, numbers prop, right? So let's say this number props is also, so it's not required, but if I just pass something here, let's say I'm just passing within this number, I'm passing some number, so that number should be like 154. And if I just go here and see this console, okay, and refresh this, here you can see that the property number of the component counter has invalid property type notation inside an object of. Okay, so it is telling me that there we had done something wrong. Okay, so what's the wrong? Failed prop type property number of a component. So what we are passing is a number, right, of a component counter. Just within this component, the props that we are passing is a number. So we are passing is a number, but it's invalid. Okay, because it is asking for an object of type, right? So now how you can pass this? So to see this, we just have to also come to this to the same requirement. So the same example as you can see here, and at the same time we are also going to see why do we use this dot object of, and why do we use this dot instance of. Okay, so now if I'm just so let's try to understand about this. What is this collective type, right? We have seen how to validate or check to see what category of the basic data of the prop type falls into. But there are many more ways that props can be passed and used, so, such as the collective type, like an array of number or a string or so on, whatever about what and how we can deal with those. Right? So to deal with these, we can also check that props for them. Below are the various ways in which a data type can be combined and used. Okay, so there are some ways which data type can be combined and used. As you can see, we can use this prop type dot array. So it will give me an example of we can pass any type of array here. We can also define an object of an array of number. So to define that it's an object of number, we can define like prop type dot array of, and here we can define the type. Okay, so for example, I can define the type as a string, or here I can define as in type as a number. Okay, so that simply means if I just going to go to use this prop type dot array of, and within this I am just going to define a number. So let's see if I am just going to I'm just going to change this number with this. So with the prop type dot type of prop type dot array of and within this array I'm just going to give an symbol of array, and I'm just going to represent that. Okay, that should be a number, right? And now I am just going to give a comma here. Okay, a number, 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 prop type dot array of number, right? As you can see here, we should use this symbol. Okay, but at the same time we had just forget to do something. So let's say here we have a counter, array of type, type right? So now if I just going to, so what is this type? I really don't understand what is this type. So let's say if I'm just going to use if I am just want to pass an array of string, I am just going to use this prop type dot one of array of type, and for the string we can use prop type dot one of array, right? Within this bracket I am just going to name an array, right? And if I am just willing to say that it's an type of object, okay, an array of object, then that should be in types, right? So let's see. Here I am just going to see all these three cases. So let's say here we have numbers array, number array, arr, and we had just want to say it's a number. Okay, so the next one is string array, str in this string arr, and that should be our prop type dot array one is array of, which is this, and the second one is arr1 no, it's an one off, right? It's an one off, dot one off, right? So here I am just going to pass an arr, right? So this is going to check if the prop that we are passing is a string or not, right? Is a string or not. And the third one is array of object obj, and to define this we just have to use prop type dot array of, and within this big brackets we have to just use like what should we use? We should like types, 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 and the same symbol. And if I'm just going to save this, it should format itself. But as you can see, here we have this type, we have this array, here we have this types, and at the same time it is also giving me some error. So type is not defined. So if I'm just going to define the type, which is a number, so it is not going to take the number as in type. And if I'm just going to say it's an array of string, so if I'm just going to say okay, it's a string, right? And if I'm just going to say that okay, it's an array of object, so I'm just going to say it's an array of object, right? And if I just go here and try to find out like what are the different elements that I can pass here. So as you can see, I can pass here that array of object, I can pass here the number array, and also we can pass here the number array, right? So if I'm just going to pass here an array of string, let's say vik comma cum, and I go to my console, my UI, here you can see within my console, if I just going to refresh this, you will see a warning, and the warning is array number which user you had trying to pass as an property, as in props in the counter component is invalid, because the property notation inside this so it does not matches the property notation inside this. Okay, so if I am just going to remove these vik, which is a string from a number, and here I am also passing some number, for example 258, right? And if I am going to just refresh this page, now you can see it's still giving me some error. Okay, so then this time the error is the number array of the component counter has invalid prop type notation inside array of. Okay, so the inside array of which we had used here, we had passes that invalid type here. Okay, so let's say instead of this we are just going to use this type, right? And yeah, here instead of this we are just going to pass this arr ay, that should be an array, I don't know. So let's first experiment with this only arr, right? And if I just go here array, so now if I just going to refresh this, as you can see, number array of the component counter is an invalid type of notation, which is an array of. So to understand this, why we are getting these error, so as you can see here that here we have to define the type. Okay, here we have to define the type. Okay, and to define the type we just have to use like this. So this is an array of object, right? And if I'm just want to pass one off, so this represents that the value that we should pass within this alarm color should be one of the red or the blue, right? And the description, as you can see here, is one of the type. Okay, so the description that we can pass, so the value that we can pass in the description should be one of these types. Okay, it should be a string or it should be an instance of the title. Okay, so the title we had defined somewhere else, I don't know where, but that's what it is referring to, right? So for example, as you can see here, so let's try to use this example, right? So within this array of, instead of giving the type, let's give the type here. So prop types dot number. So if I'm just going to say this, it's a number, so then it should be an array of number. So if I'm just going to represent it's a string, it's an array of string, then I should be write as string, and instead let's for some time I'm just going to comment this all, right? And now instead of number I'm just going to say props type dot string, right? And now if I just go here to my UI and refresh this page once more, now you do not find any so as you can see that property type number array of the component counter has an invalid type of the array of. So within this array of we have some invalid type, right? So why this time it shows me an invalid type, an array of. So let's remove this, right? And if I just save this once again, I'm just going to okay, so this is the right way which we by which you can define the type of the array. Okay, so now we had defined that it should be a number of, it should be an array of numbers. Okay, so let's try to violate this rule. Instead of a number, let's try to send some text, and let's save this. If I'm just going to refresh this, here you can see the type property, it's a number array. Okay, so this is a number array type of string which is at the position number 0. We are expecting, so you are giving a string but we are expecting a number, right? So that's how we are here, we had created an error, right? So now what should we do? We just have to replace this Vikas with some string. So let's say 0 1 0, and let's save this. And now if I just go to refresh this page, we do not have any error, right? In the same way we can also do the same with the strings. So instead of wrapping this string within this, we just have to give like this prop type dot string. And now if I am just going to pass some string array within this component, so let's pass this. Okay, so why it is not a wrap around? So to wrap this, let's go to this view and click on something where we have word wrap, right? And now if I just go to this, if I'm just trying to pass some string array, that is an array of string, but instead I am just willing to violate this rule to check if it is working or not. So let's say and see here, if I'm just going to refresh and my page, you can see here that the prop type, that is string array, which requires here you are passing a number but we are expecting a string. Okay, so that's why you are getting this error. So if I am just going to replace this replace these numbers with some string, let's say I'm just going to pass some string here, right? So what should be the string? So let's say VIKA, RAJ, and SHO, right? So let's save this. And now if I just refresh this, you do not see any error in my console, right? Because we are basically targeting the same element which we had defined in our component as in props. Okay, so in the same way you can define a number, you can define a string, you can define a boolean, a type of an array of boolean and an object of boolean, sorry. So now if so now we have something else, right? So let's say I'm just passing some array here, right? So let's see this. So now we are going to see what is the use case of prop type dot one off. Okay, so prop type dot one off. So here I am just passing 3 elements within an array, right? So here I am passing 3 elements in an array. Okay, so now if I am just trying to pass some element, so let's say str. So if I am just want to pass some value within this str, it should be one of these. It should be one of the string from this array. Okay, from this array it should be either a vik, either a raj, or either sho, right? So to see this, let's try to pass something different string to this str, right? So let's try to pass something else. Let's say kjk, kke, and let's try to save this. And if I'm just going to refresh this, here you can see an error. So invalid prop str, which you are passing as the value kkk, but the counter is expecting one of these string, which it shows into your array. Okay, so now if I just pass vik, it does not show me any error. Let's refresh this, and as you can see, we do not have any error. And this is the property which we do call as enum in our JavaScript application. So here we had created some enums, and if you are just willing to show that that you can pass only a limited number of props to this, or only a limited number of value to this prop, so you can define enums like this by using this prop type dot one off, right? And if I'm just going to replace this with some numbers, then it will also works the same for the numbers, right? So now just go to understand how we can use this prop type dot array of, right? So now if you are just going to say this example, that prop type dot array dot one of the type, right? But I like one of that type, right? So what is this going to give you, or what is this going to help you, right? For example, if I'm just going to say it should be one of the type, so for example, it is also an array, right? It is also an array, but prop type dot one of the type, and within this I am just going to refer an array, and within this array I am just going to say prop type dot number. Let's say prop type dot number and comma prop type dot boolean, right? Prop type dot boolean, bool, right? So let's represent a boolean. Okay, so now I am just referring that I am just willing to pass you any array. Okay, not an array of object, but an array, right? And within this array you can pass either a number or a boolean value. Okay, and instead if you try to pass anything else apart from number or bool, then I am just going to give you some error, right? So let's try to make some changes, and instead of passing just a number, I'm just trying to pass something else. Let's say viks, it is a string. Okay, so it's not a it is not a number, and because of we are trying to pass an array, we should have to wrap this within this curly braces. Now if I just save this and go to my UI and refresh this, as you can see here we have an error in my console, and the error is the prop type arr, which you had supplied to the counter, is expecting either a number or a boolean, right? And you are passing an string that is not a valid, right? So let's try to make some changes, and instead of just passing a string, let's pass true, right? true. And if I just save this, you can see it's an array which is a number, either a number or a boolean, and expecting one of them. So what I had passed here, okay, so instead I had passed an array. Yes, I had passed as an array. right? So let's try to work this with a number and a boolean true, right? So I'm passing two different kind of value, true, true, right? So let's save this and check if it is working or not. So as you can see, invalid prop array supplied to the counter expected one of the type, either a number or a boolean. So I am passing both number and a boolean. So let's remove this boolean for now and understand if it is going to work fine or not. Let's refresh this, and as you can see, it's still giving this error, right? So why it is giving this error? So it is giving this error because of I had used this array. We had defined one of the type, and within this we had defined some types, and we had by mistake wrapped this into an array. Okay, now it should work fine. If I just go and refresh this once again, now we do not have any error, but we have an warning that invalid arguments applied to the one of type expecting as an instance of array. So they are telling that it should be given as an instance of array. So let's wrap this within. Okay, so now it should not supply the first one error, but it is still giving me the second one error, which is still if I'm passing some number, it giving me error, right? So what should we do? Okay, so instead of just passing an array, let's try to pass just a number and refresh this, and now we do not have an error, right? And if I'm just also going to pass some boolean value, let's say true, 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 and save this and refresh this, it's still do not giving me an error. But if I'm just trying to pass something else, for example, if I'm just want to pass something else from say a string like Vikas, then it should give me an error, right? So if you see here, it's giving me an error because it's an invalid. So the thing that you had passes to ARR should be either of a number or a boolean, but you are giving something else. Okay, so you are giving a string which is not a valid type, right? So actually you can use this prop type dot array. So actually you can use this prop type dot not what it is, one of the type, and the types that you had refer here, that should represent that anything that you can pass to this prop should be either of type number or of type boolean, or maybe you had given some another or maybe you had given a number of other options, right? So that's how you can specify that if you are willing to pass multiple types if you are willing to allow multiple different types to the same string or the same prop, right? Great. So now we had also learned about this array of, array one of, and one of the type, right? And that is really fun. And now we have this object type. So just like the array type, here we have some corrective object types. So now we should also go with this object type and try to understand how this object type works. So the first one is the basic object. So if you are just want to say that then the value that you can pass to this prop should be an object, so then you can represent it with this prop type dot object. The second one is if you are just willing to pass this, okay, the number that you can, so the object that you can pass is here should be an object of prop type dot number. Okay, so the object that you are passing should be a should be all the values should be a number. Then you can use prop type dot object of. And if you are just want to check that if something is an instance of something, so if I'm passing something which is an instant of this something, this object, this message object, and then you can check also. And at the same time, as you can see here, we can also give the shape. So for example, if I am just want to declare an object, and at the same time I am also wants to refer each element a specific type, we can also do this by using this prop type dot shape. And within the shape we are just going to wrap our key value pairs, wrap our keys like this, and give their types, right? So as you can also see, all that format that you can define the prop type in your prop type is in the format of an object. Okay, so it's a simple key value pair. So now we should also go with some advanced type checking. So there may be many other ways like the basic type checking we can use to check our props. So the method is mainly focused on the React code rather than the data types. How you can check for a React component. Okay, so now that's great. We should must have an understanding of these. So if I am just passing some object, if I am not passing an object, not a number, not an array, not a string, not a boolean, but I am passing a React component. Okay, so there should be a type. So this is the type which we can define if we are passing some React element, right? So that should be in prop type dot element. Okay, so how to check for a React component name? Finally, we can check to see if the prop is the name of the React component by using this prop type dot element type, right? So as you can see, we can also use this as prop type dot element type. So author as. So if I am just try to use an alias of some component. Okay, so now if now by defining this as, I can access the same component with this same name, right? With this name. So if I am just going to also check about the name that we are using, that we are passing as an alias, we can use this prop type dot element type, right?